All good.
So obviously a really tough day. You've been through this on the defensive coordinator side as well as the head coach side. Can you just kind of walk us through a little bit about what a day like today is like for you?
Yeah, a tough day, but also can be a really good day to connect with people that have given a lot to you. So a day like this can be the beginning of something really special for a lot of guys. So there's a lot of work that everybody put in from the first day of phase one to now. So it's a great opportunity to thank people for everything they've given to the team. It's also a great opportunity for you to share with a player where he needs to go with his game. It's a tough day, but it also can be one of those special days that can lead a player to a special path.
What went into the decision just with Falski, second pick here? What went into that decision?
I think that's a better question for Kellen and Mickey. I think that Isaiah did a really good job for us when he was here. Played really hard. He's an extremely hard worker, and again, there's a lot of football in front of him.
We obviously don't know all the final roster decisions, but if you can just speak about their performance, we'll find out later. Isaiah Falski and Jalen Ford both started getting more and more opportunities, it felt like, in recent weeks. They came in with the twos the other day. What did you like, or Isaiah Stalbert and Jalen Ford, what did you like about each of those young linebackers? It was a very crowded group this time.
I think both of those guys from, I would say, the end of the springtime to the other night just made a lot of consistent improvement. And I think that when Jalen got back on the field at the end of the springtime, I think we were able to see someone who had been paying attention, and that's not easy when you're not getting reps. And so I think that he was able to really apply all those lessons on the field right away, which gave a good early sign for him. And then I think with their opportunities in the training camp, they just consistently improved throughout the whole camp. And I think demonstrated the aptitude both from a football intelligence standpoint, running the show and being a pro linebacker, and then having the physicality and toughness, and then the playmaking. I think there was playmaking that was consistent for both of those guys, both on defense and on special teams. And we kind of feel like those guys are the right guys to be coaching.
What stood out to you about Rajon Wright and the opportunities that you got to see in this offseason?
Yeah, I think Rajon is a great example of a guy who continued to improve throughout the course of spring and summer. I think he kept coming the whole way, really improved fundamentally his understanding of the defense and the system. And then I thought, those last two preseason games, I thought that he put a lot of quality downs on tape. I thought in the last game in particular, he tackled extremely well in the game. And then, as you guys know, in the Jacksonville game, you make a big-time play like that at the end of the game, people are going to remember that. But I think that play, was a really good indication of his entire training camp, where he was contesting the entire way. And he's a guy that we felt like was an improving player, and just happy for him.
Brandon, it's not too often you get to coach a guy who's been 15 years in one place. I know this is your first year here with Cam, but just from a coaching perspective, what's that like, knowing that a guy's been here? I mean, the roster's changed, the front office has changed, the coaching staff is changing. He's just kind of this constant here.
Yeah, I don't think you can underestimate it. Me having a better understanding of how the NFL is, 15 years in one place is about as rare of accomplishment as anybody, and that's for a player, a coach, an executive. And anytime you're with one team that long, it shows how special you are. You have special ability for sure, but I think Cam has got special intangibles, and his love for the game and his commitment to the game, that's the reason why you last and play as well as long as he has. And that's what stands out to me. Everyone knows, I think, is aware of he's got this amazing way about him, and I think that I've been able to see that firsthand. But, I was coaching outside rushers when I first got in the league, and, we would always watch Cam Jordan, and I think that he's always been one of the most complete players at that position because he can do so much well, in the run game, pass rush, pass coverage. And now being with him here, what a great mentor he's been for these young guys on our whole team. It's been an honor to team up with him. I know that I've learned a lot from him in a short amount of time. And again, I think he's a guy that's a good example for these young players. Every time he got a chance in training camp to go out there and compete, he did it at a high level. He never was entitled to anything. He always plays every down like it's his last down. And that's such a great example for all of our young players to see what it should look like on a day-to-day basis. So excited about his progress. I think he's improving. And as we know, when it gets real here in a couple weeks, he'll be ready.
And just for your scheme in particular, is it important for you to have a guy like Justin Reed, just from a mental processing level back there? Like, he seems obviously very intelligent to us. He's obviously got the Stanford degree and everything, but like just like having a very smart player in safety is kind of important for.
I think all the defenses would tell you that they would love a guy like Justin. I know Steve Spagnuolo and Andy would tell you he was a big factor in their success, and he'll be the same for us. I think much like Cam, just the example that they set professionally is as important as anything. But then the productivity and the playmaking, the consistency of it. He's a multiplier, and when you get a safety that can, do the things that Justin can do, it enhances everybody's ability on your defense. And he's one of those rare impact players as a safety who doesn't have to just impact the game physically. He can impact the game mentally, and I think he's allowed us to play a lot of high-level football, because of his experiences. And then when you put him in a tandem with Blackman, that's going to really enhance your defense and the layers that you can play with.
How do they complement each other, Blackman and Reed?
Yeah, I think that's a really great point and observation. Justin and Julian, I think, are both pretty complete safeties, but I think their styles are complementary. Justin is a bigger safety. He really brings a physical presence going forward towards the line of scrimmage. And I think Julian's got a very good complementary way of going backwards and playing in the deep part of the field, playing in slot cover. But I think that they both can play in the deep part of the field. I think they're both outstanding open field tacklers. They both have position flex. Justin played dime money for Steve, and Julian's played star. So they give you that versatility. And you don't feel like you have to play them exactly this way. They're both pretty complete players. And then when you factor in their football IQ, it's been really cool to team up with those guys, and they've been a great example for our guys.
How important is it to your scheme to have that kind of nose tackle and Devon who can, just either double team and stuff the run? Because it's just not a position that was really existing on this roster prior to this year.
Yeah, I think, you got to build your defense up the middle. And I think the way that we want to play, having a guy there like Devon allows everybody to play better. And I think the command that he has in the middle of, not only being able to, I think control double teams, but if he does get a single block, when he gets a single block, he's winning that single block and making the tackle. And so he's not just a space occupier. We feel like he can make a lot of tackles for us, and that's important, that he's going to give you playmaking, run stuffs in there. And so just a very consistent player. And I think having to face him all these years, that's what really stood out to me, is just how consistent he was. Bill and Steve and those guys in New England, they have as high a praise for him as anybody, So I think he's brought that professionalism to us, but again, the playmaking ability and the ability for others to benefit by how he plays in the middle.
Brandon, what was your exposure like to Ike got him last year? And a number of guys here have said he's been like somebody they've leaned on in the room because he's really the only one with a ton of experience.
Right. Ike's got an awesome path. I was with him in Denver in 2019. That was his second year in the NFL. And to see him kind of go on this path, I've brought it up in some defensive meetings of where kind of Ike started in his NFL career and now where he is. And I think last year, being with him in San Fran, he played really well for us last year in San Fran. I mean, a very consistent player throughout the season. And then for us to be able to join up with him here and him having a prior experience here with Mickey and this group of guys here, it really was a natural fit. And so he's just, again, a professional, a guy that's extremely consistent. But I think a really good example for young guys is he's taken a path that's less traveled. But he hung in there, and he kept getting better. And I show him Ike when he was in 2019 when I was with him, and I show him the Ike now in 2025. And where he is committed to taking his game. And he's been, I think, a real consistent performer for us throughout training camp and an awesome example for our guys. And just, whether it's tackling in the run game, the way he sets the force, the way he covers, the way he is as a gunner on punt team, year 7 or 8 or whatever it is for him. Just been a great example for our program.
What's the biggest thing that jumps out between 2019 and 2025?
Confidence. And most of that comes with a lot of experience. But he's had to earn that confidence, because when you have to, take the road less traveled and you go play for a bunch of teams, you got to believe in yourself more than anyone else. So I think it just shows you the type of competitor that he is and how much it means to him. But to be playing like he is now just shows you that, there's a lot possible if you'll just hang in there. But he's got a lot of confidence right now, and just all the experiences that he's been able to acquire over the years, he's using all that and he's applying it on the field.
Is he somebody that you would describe as kind of like a technically sound corner? Like, there's a lot of people that rely a lot on physical ability and all those other things. Obviously he has that, but is he more of a technical guy?
Yeah, he's very committed to his approach, and I would say very consistent in his routine. And I think that was one of the things that's allowed him to play well, is he understands who he is. He's a really good press player, very committed to his technique. And then I think what he's been able to do is been able to improve in his cushion race when he's playing off. He's been able to improve that aspect of his game. He's always been a great open field tackler. He's been an outstanding gunner in the league for many years. So he really brings that to your defense as the tackling, because of his arm length and because of his physicality. But as a cover guy, I think he's just very committed to that routine. And I think that's been a good example for our young guys, is hey, if you can, especially at corner, if you can become a technician, there's going to be a place for you in this league.
I've asked you about your relationship with Kellen before, but I'm curious, on a day like today where he's in a bit of a different role, where now he's the head coach, like, have you noticed him change, if at all, with a day like today in terms of giving his preferences and all that comes with it?
Kellen's so consistent. I think that's one of his top traits, is his poise and his composure. I just see him every single day get more confidence, because the more you do it, the more experiences you go through, the more certain that you become of yourself. But I think what he's done an excellent job is surrounding himself with the right people. And we're fortunate here that, with our front office experience, I think we have like 4 former GMs on our staff, and so it's like there's a lot of experience here. And then, myself, Scott Linehan, Doug, Phil, Joel Thomas, people that he knows, that he trusts. I think that makes the job a lot easier on a day like today. So I think he's done an outstanding job of surrounding himself with the right people.
And when you're a coach for the first time and you're trying to blend different parts of your coaching path and bringing it to a new place, are there things you recognize from your guys' time in LA that you brought here, and so what are they?
Yeah, I mean, of course, we're a blend of our experiences. I know that when Kellen and I teamed up together in LA, we wanted to incorporate a lot of things that had made him successful in Dallas, and even when he was playing as a player in the NFL or in college, for Chris. So I think that's a big part of leadership, is trying to incorporate the things that you feel like are going to work for you. And I think that he's done a good job of that. I think him going to Philly after LA, certainly having the year that they did, but it's not even just the success. It's another experience, another process, another way of doing things. And then you come into this place and you see what's going to fit. And I think that's something that he does a great job of, is what's going to fit for us right now, and what's going to fit for him and his style of leadership.
How much do you dedicate Wednesday and Thursday this week to kind of taking your system and refining and adjusting based on the changes in the roster?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that these 2 days are important because we don't play Arizona until next week. So you can get too far ahead worrying about them. You've got to find the right balance of studying us and then, obviously getting ready for the opponent. So we have an inventory of training camp that we can look at, whether it's practice, scrimmage, or these 3 games. And we need to make sure that we take care of ourselves first. And I think that Kellen's put together a really good practice schedule for the next couple of days where it's a good balance of focusing on us and then getting ready for our opponent. But that's what, the rest of this week we're going to be trying to strike that balance.
Yeah, we saw it with Bo a little bit, and obviously Kyler's the same way. Like, how much time do you spend trying to factor in quarterbacks that are just going to extend forever? Is that something that you scheme for, or do you just have to kind of handle it within the defense?
Yeah, you got to scheme for it, for sure. That added element of the mobility is a big part of this league, and the best quarterbacks now, you can name one, they all have it. So all those big high leverage downs, third downs, red area, 2 minute, you're going to have to factor that into how you play. So no matter how you're going to rush the quarterback, 4, 5, 6, whatever, that's going to be a big component of the game plan. And so, Bo, that's a great exposure for our guys, getting ready for, our first game, but all the other games too that we're going to have to play where the quarterback's a special player with his legs. And, we had good exposure in games 2 and games 1 of the preseason as well with Trevor, and then, Trey Lance. He's a very mobile quarterback too. So that's the thing that you have to do during training camp now is you have to learn, until it's live, you don't really know. And Spencer and Tyler and Jake have given us great looks too. But that's such a big part of finishing plays in the NFL. So yeah, we're going to have to spend a lot of time on it with Kyler for sure.
Guys, we have time for one more question for Coach. If not, we have Coach Messemeyer, pre-thanks coach. So anything to follow up with Brandon?
I know you were touching on Callan a little bit earlier. So far, like in your 2 stints, what's been your favorite thing about working with him?
Oh, just one thing. I think that Kellen, Catherine, just has a very refreshing poise when things get tough, and there's been some instances that we've had together where, that, something big just happened, maybe not in a good way, but just the no flinch and like, hey, this is what we got to do next. This is what we got to pivot to, and we got to get moving. And I just think that he's got such a refreshing poise, and those type of scenarios. And it's been great to see him in this way. I saw him last year go to Philly, and they didn't get off to a great start last year. People forget that, but then, I think his poise showed up. Hey, this is what we got to do. This is how we need to play. This is how we need to attack the rest of the season. Bam. And I think he's done it here as a head coach. There's been a lot of examples, but I think he's very consistent. And in this league, you have to be because there's always so much happening. And I think he sets a great example for all of us.